So now the real truth now. Let's see. Both together.
I guess.
It holds. That's pretty cool, huh? I'm Duca.
And I'm Roberta.
And together we are building our own tiny shipping container house.
So don't forget to subscribe
And to join us every Monday for a new episode.
So what's the plan?
Well, this week we have a challenge. We need to solve this problem. It's hard to understand what's the problem, but basically we have all these beams that support the ceiling panels, right?
Yeah.
When we get to here, the last beam is going to be in this direction, but the beams coming from this side is going to be on this direction. So that means that this last beam needs to support the first 4 beams of this other side of the house, and we are pretty sure if we use one small wooden beam, it won't support.
Yeah.
So we're going to use this.
So let's explain.
The plan is really simple, using all the metal pieces we have left over from other small projects we did. So basically, this is a 4 by 8 centimeters piece of metal, and this is a 3 by 5 centimeters piece of metal. The idea is to weld these two together and build a L-shaped mixed metal piece. And in this side of the house, the beam is going to run in this direction. So this is going to be on the top of this. And we're going to screw this on this so this won't bend. In this other side, the beams are going to run in this direction. So that means we're going to have a beam here, another one 8 centimeters, another one, and another one. The way to connect these two together, we're going to get this L-shaped bar, and you're gonna cut smaller pieces, weld them together, like 2 of those together, and we're gonna do something like, you know, like a bed for the beam, and you're gonna weld here, and I think that's gonna work out. If you didn't understand, stick with us, that we're gonna do it, and once we do it, it's easier to understand when you see what we're talking about.
And we hope it works.
Yeah. Let's get working then. First step, it's always measurements. So we always start the project with measurements. So let's see if this fits now. We got almost 100% right on the first try. We just need
Fit?
perfect.
That's pretty good.
Last step before we can start welding, we need to cut the supports for the side beams.
You're gonna cut a little bit of one side.
I don't know if you guys remember, but in an old episode we talk about if I want to weld 2 pieces straight like this, it's better to have a chamfer, I guess that's how it's called. So that's why, if you notice here, this is not a straight cut. There's like maybe I don't know, 30 degrees. And once we put like here, we're gonna do a chamfer in this side also, and it's easier to penetrate the weld here because this is pretty thick. Let's do it. I guess it's enough grinding for now.
Finally.
Time for some welding. Let's have fun then.
Yeah.
Well, now Luke is gonna tack weld. I don't know how to say that.
Yeah, so now basically I'm just clamping the two bars together so we can weld. Because when you weld, it hits too much the metal and can, you know, bend. So if I clamp them together and I weld in a few spots, then I can weld without a problem, without a risk of bending. Yeah. Are you ready?
Yeah, you're ready.
I think we can try to replace now before we weld all the way. So let's see if it fits now. It fits. We just need a small grind of that side, but it's perfect. So now we can weld all the way. I'm gonna weld a little bit this side, and then Hubert is gonna weld the other side. Let's do it.
Pretty good, right?
So that's the first one, and then that's the last one. Someone's getting much better.
I'm still not 100%
No,
satisfied, but
it's really good. It's better than I was when I welded this many times.
because you didn't have a teacher saying, do this, or that.
Well, today is the final day probably of welding of this beam, and it's a little bit tricky.
Hopefully.
Yeah, we did a big mistake. It happens. When we weld, we're gonna explain. Let's show them. I don't know if you can see, but here, no gap. Gap.
One finger gap.
Quick explanation. I'm gonna try to be quick because I recorded this like 5 times and I'm never quick. Basically, when you weld two pieces of metal together, they heat it up and they change shape. I mean, like they expand, and then when they cool down, they go back to the original shape if you don't heat too much. If you heat too much, it's gonna get to a different shape and won't go back, right? That's what happened with us. That's the reason why when you weld anything together, you need to tack weld, right? So basically, think like this. If you do a line of weld here, this line of weld is gonna get really hot and then when it cools down, it's gonna shrink. When this weld shrinks, this is gonna happen. That's the reason why you tack weld, tack weld, tack weld, tack weld. When this try to shrink, the tack weld won't let this go on this direction, right? That's theory. Small piece, small weld. Long beam, as we did, we tack weld in just a few spots. That means that when we did the actual lines, it heats it up so much that even though we have tack welds, the whole thing bent, not just, you know, like not just move. And that's a big problem. I think our biggest mistake was that after tack welding, we did the lines like, you know, like here, and then one in the other end of the beam, and then one in the center, and then one, it just keep changing locations on the same size, the same side. I think that was enough. I thought that was enough, but the thing is, I forgot that this could bend in this way also, the whole thing, because everything is really hot. So I think what we should have done is to weld one line here, and then one line on the inside, and then one line here, one line on the inside, on different spots, but not
alternating sides.
But not just alternating the location on one side, alternating the location and the side. We just alternated the location. We didn't alternate the side. That's the reason why we got a painted beam.
We think.
Yeah. I mean, like, it's a learning process, and for the next time we're gonna do better, I guess. But for now we have a painted beam. We could.
Then it's okay.
Yeah, it's okay. I mean, like, even though it's bent, our main problem would be because we have, you know, we're gonna have like other beams on the side, and if it's bent and this beam is lower than this, because, you know, like this is the beginning, so this is lower, this is higher, and then the ceiling panel would be like this. But actually, all the place we need to put add supports for the side beams, they're in the same height, even though it's bent. So it's pretty good. I mean, like, seems confusing, but trust us, it's gonna be okay. Life is gonna move on and it's gonna be okay, right? So let's keep going.
And I think now we have a solution. We are gonna weld these pieces around here and around here. So we are gonna put them flush here. That's it, babe?
Yeah. Yeah, let's do it and then we'll show them. Time to work.
Yep.
This is a game of patience. It's grind, grind, weld a little bit, grind, cut, and that's just the way it goes, back and forth all the time. Let's do it. So, time for the truth now. Let's try to put the beam on place and see what happens. It fits. Let's see. But first, let's. Now we have light. Now you put first. Let's wait. Yeah. And now let's see. Perfect. Yay. So now the real truth. Now let's see. Both together.
Yes.
It holds. That's pretty cool, huh? So basically the beams to this side of the house, they're going to be supported here. The other one behind, the other one there. And now we need to weld this on place so it won't move anywhere. But that's pretty cool. So a lot more welding now. Yay! That's pretty cool, huh? Let's see together. 3. Take your feet up. long time later. We're tired. We're gonna go home and we're gonna paint tomorrow because it's too dark to see.
Yeah.
That's amazing. Look at this.
So, see you tomorrow.
Time for some rust converter, but I've been working too much. It's her turn now to work.
This was an exciting week.
That's pretty cool. We got to weld a lot. Welding is fun. I mean, like, it's just like you press a button and you join two metals together, and when it looks pretty, it's even more cool. Yeah, it's been a long time. I don't feel, how do I say, proud of my welding. The thing is, I was terrible, then I got a little bit better, and then I got okay, and then I got stuck at it, okay, because, you know, we are always welding on the ladder, outside with wind, upside down, you know, like always hard to see. And this time we got to weld inside, on the flat ground, no wind, good lighting, and the weld was so pretty.
Mine as well?
Yeah, no, I'm not talking about her, I'm talking about my weld, because her weld is just amazing. For someone that never welded before until last week, 2 weeks ago maybe, she's getting really, really good. And now she's welding structure welding, because this one is gonna hold a lot of weight, and seems like really, really strong and really well done the job.
Thanks, babe.
I mean, that was really exciting, but at the same time really sad, because
this was the last welding for the next weeks, months,
I don't know. Maybe a few months, yeah. It's gonna be a while until we weld again.
So
and that's
we are
sad.
like
I was
sad.
editing a video and I was already like, I wish I had another project. But we will find another project in the future. Yeah. And now we're gonna work with wood, and wood is also really cool. Yeah. And we still have a lot to learn to work with wood, because we are. It's always tough to get things right with wood, because you cannot make mistakes. On welding, you make mistakes, you fix mistakes. But on wood, it's a little bit harder.
So next week we are gonna start framing the house and insulating and framing.
Yeah, you know, the whole thing. Yeah, a lot of work ahead of us.
Yeah. And this week we have few patrons.
We have few patrons. Thank you, guys. So yeah, we just want to thank you. We want to welcome you on board, and let's show who they are. Yes. Give a second. So, thanks a lot, Marcel. Thanks a lot, Scott. And thanks a lot, Carl. You guys are awesome. See you guys next week. Took us like 3 hours of discussing and like, I don't know, like trying to decide if we should buy a new bar and do all over again, or if we should try to unbend the metal. She didn't let me. I wanted to buy a torch, yeah. We don't have a torch, like, you know, like a fire torch. And I believe that if we had a fire torch and we use 2 pieces of wood to support the beam on each side, and then we could get like the jack, a car jack, through the roof of the shipping container to the sidebar, and then we could heat it up this and pump the jack until we bend back to place.
Maybe.
Yeah, I think it would work, but we need to buy a torch, and she didn't want to buy a torch. So we decided to try a different solution, right?
Yeah.
That is to weld as it is. But don't worry, it's fine actually. We are lucky because the bar bent regularly. That means like didn't bend like more in one side than the other. Bent just like an arch, a small arch, like maybe 1 centimeter in the center. Height, I think it's like 0 and 1 and 0. That means that as the beams that we're going to support on the sides are the same distance from each other, basically, they end up, the supports, in the same height. That means like even though it's a little bit higher than it's supposed to be, they are both in the same height, so it's going to be fine.
So that was the quick explanation.